Hey, welcome to Utah Stories. Today we're talking about farming and agriculture in Utah and why we should care about farms. So, to start off the program, I want to introduce you to an incredible 91-year-old farmer who cultivated 10 acres all by himself. It's the incredible Grant Haldaway from Vineyard, Utah. Let's go ahead and roll that clip, Troy.
If you enjoy what you do, then you're a happy man. And that's the way it ought to be. And I farmed for 85 years. When I was 6 years old, I helped my grandmother grow a flower bed down by the dairy farm. And ever since that time, I love to work with plants. And this is interesting. This is one tomato plant.
Wow.
And I've got a triangle there. And it'll see what you think of them. They're called sun sugar.
Wow. That is great.
They're sweet, aren't they? Sit back and try to enjoy life. So I retired from the business and I'm working harder than I did before.
Did you use a tractor to plant this, or did you use a tractor to plant all this, or how did you cultivate all this?
Well, yeah, you see that red tractor over there?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Cultivate with that. So I still have all the equipment.
And this all used to be yours, which is the school ground now, huh?
I used to farm all the way down to where those homes are.
Wow.
You see.
Yeah, that's a lot of ground.
The more society moved in on us, why, that brought all the big box stores. I used to grow 12 acres of sweet corn, and the people would come down as I'd bring the pickup loads in, and they want 10 dozen or 15 or 20. They can it or freeze it or dry it. Now, when they come down, they buy 3 years or 6 years. Last year I grew 1.5 acres, and I took 4 pickup loads to the food bank because I couldn't sell it on 1.5 acres.
Wow, really?
So you see.
Looks like you got a ton of zucchini. Do you sell any of this, or what do you do with it all?
Well, I raise it for family and neighbors. I'm not trying to sell it, I'm trying to give it away. See, I've always worked about 12-hour days, and I never got very rich. The only money I got is I'm sitting on about 10 acres of ground. It's worth a little bit of money. And then my daughters all went their way professionally, and so.
Yeah,
You
it's
have to love farming to do it. If you don't love it, you're not going to do it.
Oh.
Don't have to peel them.
I took out from Reno I was 12 to win a house. Didn't get much sleep that night till the morning come around. Set out a running, but I take my time. Friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home.
Okay, so that was back in June of 2015, I believe. It was either 2015 or 2016. Obviously, an incredibly inspiring, amazing man, Grant Holdaway. He passed away about 3 years after I did that film. And just an incredibly inspiring man. Spent his whole life farming, raised his kids on his farm. That was in Vineyard, Utah. And if you know the stats of Utah, Vineyard was the fastest growing city in Utah for about 3 years straight. It went from a complete farming town to a boom apartment condominium, single family hometown. And all the farmers got basically squeezed out. The Cook Farm and Greenhouse still exists there, but I kind of concentrated on that area because all the farmers were selling out. And I got a real sense of why we need to preserve farms in Utah by talking to these farmers. Certainly the land is more valuable if it's developed into big box parks or apartments or condominiums or office parks. It's more valuable in monetary terms and in terms of the payback to the city coffers through property taxes. But in terms of actual economic output and community self-reliance, you are losing an enormous amount of social fabric by selling all the farmland. This is farmland that's been cultivated for generations, and it's sad to see that the city just placed zero value on farmland because this is the best farmland in Utah. We have one narrow stretch of really great farmland in Utah that's along the Wasatch Front, and it's been cultivated since the pioneers first came, and all of that land is slowly being sold out. And in our farm issue, which we produce every single year, it's my favorite issue to produce every year. I love it. And this year we actually sold tons of ads. We actually made money on our farm issue. That hasn't happened in many years. But I love this issue. I love the entire magazine. I want to walk you through some of the stories in this issue. So besides the story I'm going to go into a little bit later in the program about the last dairy in Summit County, Utah, we have stories about the best tacos in Utah by our amazing food writer Ted Scheffler, a history of the Latino culture in Ogden through the eyes of a very cool guy I met named Manny Garcia, zero-proof non-alcoholic cocktails, the best you can find in Utah, and then a violin maker in Sugar House who actually is a world-class violin repair guy named Jordan Hess, the rising cost of addiction and how it's impacting our shrinking labor force. There's a terrible problem with local businesses not being able to hire enough workers who will stay on the job for more than a couple of weeks because they're recovering addicts, recovering alcoholics. I think this is sort of, still we're faced with the aftermath of COVID, but a century of cinema in Moab, Utah. That's a really cool story about what's going on. What's the cinematic history of Moab from when John Ford was filming his incredible epics with John Wayne in the Canyon Country in Moab, Utah. Just really proud of this issue. I think you're going to love it. And I want to tell you how to subscribe to the magazine to support our farm coverage and to support everything we do at Utah Stories. Just go out to utahstories.com, and for just $3 a month, you can subscribe to the magazine. We'll send it right to your door. We've been getting a lot of subscriptions, and it's been awesome. We would love to have even more so we can support the content that we love to do, especially this farm content. So go out to utahstories.com, subscribe to the magazine. We'd love to send you it. And as a bonus, we'll give you a 13th issue. We'll actually send you the farm issue this month if you subscribe before June 20th. So you need to go out right now while that offer exists and while supplies last, and subscribe, and we'll be happy to send you not just 12 for $3 a month, but 13, including this farm issue full of those awesome stories. And so now I want to go into the story that I covered, which was the last farm in Summit County, Utah. So thankfully, local food is on the rise in Utah. The farmers markets are bursting all over Utah. We see that the farmers markets have now spread outside of the biggest cities, and now they're more in rural areas as well. But what I found is that as the farmers markets increase in popularity, as the wealth is pouring in Utah from other places, we're getting a lot of influx of new residents. The farmland is just going through the roof. The prices of farmland per acre is becoming so attractive. Farmers just can't justify keeping this. Like, this is a dairy in Summit County at Hoytsville. This is Brown's Dairy. They can't justify milking their cows every morning when they know if they just cash out, they're going to make more from that land than they would make from probably 40 or 50 years of farming. I mean, it's just if you know Summit County and Park City has attracted billionaires. People like Michael Jordan have owned property. The guy who founded Zappos had 14 houses when he died in Park City. It's a place where billionaires can bank their money and know that it's going to increase in value. And so now that money is spreading outward in Summit County to the east. And so this is like 15 minutes to the east of Park City, and this is Hoytsville, which is really close to two other towns, Carbon, I can't think of the name, but it's just this beautiful, amazing place, pastures, and all of this is going to become a master planned community similar to Daybreak. And the problem is that that I find troubling is that there's not just such a massive wealth disparity because farmers aren't necessarily that poor in Utah, but it's just because billionaires are so rich. And we're seeing that these farmers become multimillionaires if they sell out. So Bill Gates wants to own all the farmland he can possibly snatch up. Why? Because he knows it's much better to bank his land in farmland than in the bank, where it's losing money due to inflation. So let's take a look now why this is unfortunate. So why, if you're from a county commissioner point of view or an economic developer point of view, of course you want the billionaires in your neighborhood because they're going to fund your schools, they're going to fund your roads, they're going to fund your parks and everything else. But we also need local farms and local dairies. We cannot rely solely on massive, giant factory farms and dairies for all our agricultural needs. We cannot rely on one giant dairy that's in Utah. I know of one single dairy. I did a little documentary called on Bateman's Dairy for all of our milk. Because if that milk gets tainted or spoiled, then they have to do a recall of every single store in Utah and almost all the milk in Utah. We need local dairies so that we're not so dependent on the factory farm model, which is proven not to be as healthy for the environment or the cows or the animals. But we need to rely on local production so that we can have a local supply chain. And I think we've learned that lesson through COVID. It's extremely important. And so the county commissioners and the economic development directors need to understand this. I think that we need to write them. If you're a farmers market advocate and you're shopping at farmers markets, not only do you need to go and seek out the best farmers to buy all your produce from, your meat, your dairy, but also let your county commissioners know you don't want another big box park in your backyard. It would be much better if we preserve the last of the farms in Utah and give them a reason to continue farming. So this Brown's Dairy, I went through their farm. I wrote all about it in the beginning of the magazine. But I stumbled inside. They were on break. And I found like this old sign for the dairy when they sold most of their milk right out of the dairy. And obviously that model had gone by the wayside because everybody just started buying all their milk at Costco or Walmart. But if all of us decided, okay, we're going to buy more of our food from the local farmers, we're going to get more of our supply locally, then it could make a tremendous difference in preserving these family farms. And so I encourage you to go out to places like Taggy Farms. They're a supporter of Utah Stories. Canyon Meadows Grass-Fed Beef. They're also a supporter of ours. and find your local ranchers, your local dairies, your local produce stands, and buy your food from them all summer long, and then put it up in jars. I think I'm going to do a tutorial in the fall showing how easy it is to put up your food in jars. And I encourage you to do that because we don't need an endless sea of big box parks and Walmarts and Costco's and Trader Joe's. Those places are great. I'm not disparaging them, but it's much better if we preserve our open space and farmland. And so again, you can help us support that idea and that concept by supporting us at Utah Stories. For $3 a month, we'll send this right to your door. Again, that's utahstories.com. Or you could subscribe to our free digital newsletter. That's absolutely free. It's the voice of local Utah right to your inbox. And we will send you that without spamming you. So thank you so much for watching. This has been Richard Markosian, editor and publisher. If you like this content, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And go check us out at Instagram as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.